Okay, so welcome everyone. So as I said, my name's Janet Chapman. I'm the chair of Tanzania Development Trust, which is a volunteer and charity that's been supporting projects in rural Tanzania for 46 years. And about 6 years ago, I started Crowd2Map. And one of the main reasons behind that was to help the fight against female genital mutilation in Tanzania, but also for community development, progress towards the SDGs, and many other aspects. So Tanzania Development Trust's priorities are clean water, girls' education, and income generating projects. And in the context of visiting projects on the ground in Tanzania, I realized that the maps were very poor or sometimes non-existent. And this was a huge issue. It's an issue because it's difficult to know where the water points are. For girls' education, often girls had to walk extremely long distances to get to school, but because there was no maps of where those villages were, it's hard to get the data on that. And similarly for income generation projects, it's really good to know where businesses are, where access banks are, etc. So we started this project Crowd2Map, which is a volunteer-run program that is putting rural Tanzania on the map. So there's been a huge amount of mapping in Dar es Salaam, as you can see here, but in rural Tanzania, then the situation is very different. So we're using OpenStreetMap, which is an open source map like Wikipedia, so it's owned by the community, not big business like Google, and anyone can contribute. But even in OpenStreetMap, this area, over 10,000 people live in, but they're not shown on the map. Now, for those of you who don't know, female genital mutilation is the cutting of the female genitalia for cultural or religious reasons. And if you have any questions about this, I'm hoping that Roby will be here shortly, who can answer them. She is an FGM survivor and activist. And FGM is illegal in Tanzania, but does still happen, particularly in the areas shown, where girls are rounded up during a cutting season, usually to coincide with the long school holidays. So this is Roby. She's the director of Hope for Girls and Women, which works in Mara district, going out to the community, doing outreach, but also running safe houses for girls who are refusing to be cut. And Harry, who's here, is also part of that organization. But because the maps are so poor, it's difficult for girls or people supporting them, such as teachers or pastors or so on, to find the safe houses. And it's very difficult for safe house staff to find the girls. So activists and many other people in rural Tanzania need maps, and we are making them. So we have over 16,000 volunteers from all over the world who are helping to map rural Tanzania. And these volunteers can be anywhere because all you need to participate is an internet connection. Because what you're doing for the first stage is looking at satellite images like this one and adding details. For example, here we can trace this as a road. Here we can trace this as a round building. Here we can trace this as a very small square rectangular building. Okay, but all we can tell from this satellite image is that this is a building. We don't know any more details about that. We don't know what, it's probably a hut, you know, for a house, but we don't know more than that, which is why we need people on the ground to add their local knowledge. And we're also starting to use machine learning, artificial intelligence to predict things. So for example, some of the tasks that we're using are using this rapid map with AI to facilitate the mapping process, to suggest where the roads and buildings are by machine learning, as in here. So as I mentioned earlier, we have a Slack channel primarily for the people mapping using satellite images because you need slightly better technology. It's better to do this on a laptop rather than a phone. And I've put the link in. If you want to join, please do so. The good thing about this is that it's a huge network of really good mappers. You get access to the training materials, we have quizzes, badges, and also, most importantly, you can ask questions and you can get feedback on your mapping. So if you're interested, please do check it out. Join, introduce yourself, etc. So with people on the ground, we're using either maps.me or the new competitor called Organic Maps. And how this works is it uses a phone's GPS point. It's really brilliant because it works offline. It looks at the baseline map that we've already created from satellite images, and it allows people to add points of information. So for example, to say, okay, here is the mosque, here is a water point, here is the Anglican church, etc. So this is what we're doing. So you can see some mappers here, they're adding water points. There's a water point here that they're adding to the map. And then we've also been training the activists and the police and anyone else who's interested how to use these maps to quickly route themselves to wherever they need to get to. So typically during the cutting season, Roby and her colleagues will get a phone call in the middle of the night saying girls are about to be cut in, say, Kabancha village. They're at the Catholic Church. And before it was very difficult to find them, but now with using the maps, then it's much, much easier. And this works offline and works like Google Maps does. So we trained a network of digital champions in every village in Serengeti and Butiama districts. We're hoping to make this more widely available. And so these were women who'd never been online before, never had a smartphone before. They were a member of the Women and Children's Protection Committee. We trained them how to map their village and also how to record and gender-based violence. So here people are seeing a map of their village for the first time, and they're pointing out what things still need to be added. So we made printed village maps for village offices, but also obviously online maps. Because we had some small funding from Women Connect project, we were able to provide some very cheap smartphones for these digital champions, because access to mobiles is a huge issue in these rural communities still, particularly for women. So Women Connect gave us some funding in 2019 to launch this program of digital champions in Serengeti. If people could keep muted if they're not talking, that would be great. So digital champions, as I said, we started in Serengeti with 87 digital champions in 2019. That's still an ongoing project. And then we got some more funding from UNFPA this year to roll it out in Butiama and Tarime. But we're really hoping to extend this, particularly in Ruria, because of the cross-border issues. So there's a lot more information about this on the HOPE website. These are some of the digital champions that were from Serengeti. As I said, they were selected by the Women and Children's Protection Committee, and training was about how to use a smartphone for them, and also for the whole committee about what gender-based violence was, right, and how to report it. So here you can see Roby and some of her team training people. And there is ongoing training via a WhatsApp group, as you can see here. Because FGM is a tribal issue in Tanzania, the tribes, such as the Kuria, are divided into sub-tribes or clans, and which clan is in which village primarily is very, very important to know, because the clans plan their cutting seasons differently. So we've also produced this map showing clearly where different clans are mostly based, so that Roby and her team can plan the interventions that are needed. And we're really hoping to do the same thing in other areas. Another thing that Hope and Roby and her team are doing is they're collecting a lot of different information. So I've mentioned that they're collecting and reporting data about gender-based violence, but they're also collecting information about access to healthcare, water points, and so on, partly with a research project with Nottingham University. And to do all of this, they're using Kobo Toolbox and ODK. So if people haven't used it, you can set up, it's a totally free tool. You can set up a form on Kobo Toolbox and then deploy it to phones using ODK. And it works offline. You can collect the data and then upload it once you have connectivity again. So some of the digital champions are also, as I said, collecting data about health, access, water, which is a huge issue. This is a water point for one of the villages where they're working, and also gender-based violence. And you can see the different types of gender-based violence that they're collecting information about here. And I'm sure Roby can tell us a lot more about that shortly. So this is one of the digital champions for Rikicha in Serengeti. So they also have a wider role about educating the community and helping with digital skills more generally. And we would really like to expand that aspect if possible. So Crowd2Map has in 6 years added over 5.4 million buildings to OpenStreetMap in Tanzania, plus 300,000 kilometers of roads, etc. And Roby estimates that this project has saved over 3,000 girls from FGM. And every time girls are subjected to FGM, there is a risk that they will bleed to death and die, which tragically happens every year. The digital champions have also been involved in other projects, such as using an app to detect plant diseases, because they are farmers. So that's a quick overview of what we're doing. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment, and I'm going to invite Roby, who was here, who appears to have left. Right, great. Okay, so before we go on to the mapping aspect, were there any questions? If not, then if you haven't already joined the Slack channel, please do so, because the instructions, the training materials are there. So Eric,
Hello, Janet.
Hi, hello. So would you like to just introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Eric Tamba Mnyali. Currently working serving as Youth Mappers Regional Ambassador, and also a co-founder of GOT. which is a non-profit organization that focuses on the use of geospatial technology in addressing community challenges. And in another aspect, GOT works in the aspect of research. So I've been involved in the work that Janet has been doing, and it's actually a great work. And once as a mapper, I'm always dedicated to contribute to Crowd2Map, because the impact that they are trying to deliver is tremendous. So thank you, Janet, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you very much. So for those of you who don't know, Youth Mappers is an amazing organization that we've been working very closely with over the last 6 years. So it is a global organization for student-run mapping groups, and we've set up 16 chapters in Tanzania in different universities. And so they have been fantastic in helping us, and Harry has done a lot of training in various different Youth Mapper chapters. So Eric, are you on a computer?
No, Janet.
Okay, right. Okay, so so how we map, I will do a quick demonstration of this then. So basically, to get started, you need a OpenStreetMap account. So if you go to openstreetmap.org, I will go through this in a minute. So if you search in your browser for OpenStreetMap, this is for the people that haven't already done this already. Okay, so I'm going to, as Roby isn't here, I'm going to do this bit next. So all right, so OpenStreetMap. So we've said that about the need for maps. OpenStreetMap is a much better map than Google in rural Africa, because it has a hugely more detail, and it's also owned by the community rather than a corporation. You can see the difference in the level of detail here. This is Magumu, where one of the FGM safe houses is in Google Maps. This is the same place in OpenStreetMap. So OpenStreetMap is open data, anybody can use it for any purpose, and it's a collaborative project like Wikipedia. So it's local knowledge, community driven, inspired by Wikipedia, and there's a very strong community of mappers involved. So this is was from January. This over 7 million users. It's going up all the time. And it can be used for anything: humanitarian, planning, communicating issues, and obviously for business. So humanitarian OpenStreetMap team particularly use it for natural disasters like flooding, earthquakes, and hurricanes. And as I said, to get started, all you need to do is to go to OpenStreetMap and register as a new user, and then find in your email, find the confirmation and click it to confirm, and then you can log in. So you can, if you wanted to map a particular area that you know very, very well, you can just go to OpenStreetMap and start to edit. But generally, how we map like this is using the humanitarian OpenStreetMap tasking manager. So if you go to tasks.osm, you can choose different projects that different organizations have put up there for people to map. The reason we do this is it's much easier to collaborate if many different people are mapping at the same time. So it takes an area that needs mapping, it explains why, and it divides it into squares. And if you click on contribute, you can choose one of these squares to map, which means that you will add whatever the project has asked you to. So for this one here, you can see that this is roads and buildings. So it's asking you to add both of those. Most of our projects, and the ones I put in the link, were for buildings only, which is an easier place to start. So if you click on one of these squares, then you can add the buildings, and then what happens is a more experienced mapper will then check it, they will validate it. So as I said, I've shown you that already. So this is what it would look like on the ground, a track, and we could trace this track and trace this path, etc. I've said about this already. So when you join the Slack, you get more instructions here and the quizzes and so on. So also another thing that we've done is we've taken open government data. So if anybody has any data about clinic locations, school locations, church locations, anything that can be in the public domain, then that can easily be added to OpenStreetMap. So what we did in this case is we just copied the GPS into OpenStreetMap and then had a look at their satellite imagery and said, okay, yes, there's a building there, it looks like a clinic, then we will add it. And we did the same thing for school location as well. So we trained many people on the ground in Tanzania. I've talked about this. Youth mappers, if you're aligned to a university, fantastic for them to join. Loads of opportunities for internships, training, etc. Here you can see Harry training some youth mappers in Magumu. Here's showing the youth mapper network. I've mentioned about the digital champions. One of the things we also did, as I said, was to measure the distance that students were having to walk to school. So this is an example of that. And also about water points related to health facilities. And then we've been producing a lot of different village maps. Also printed maps, but also web-based maps using things like UMap. And if Harry had power, he could explain this more, but he doesn't. Okay, so that is how to get started. So if I don't think I need to show you how to log on to OpenStreetMap, but once you've once you've got an OpenStreetMap account and you've joined the Slack channel, if you want, so if we search for by organization, so all our organization comes up as Tanzania Development Trust. So you can see the projects that we've got. So if we look at Tanzania Development Trust, this project here, so this is 10850, right? And then if I click contribute, so it has some information here. All right, so for this project, we're just mapping buildings, and we're going to use Maxar imagery. So the key here shows that which ones are available for mapping, which are the white ones. And then blue means somebody's mapped them and somebody else is going to come and validate them. and then green means they're completely finished. So if I click on map a task, then it's going to show, this is the area where I'm going to map. Now, for this area, so I can, so this is the area within this pink rectangle that I'm going to map. So I need to zoom in. Now, for some reason, this is completely black. So there is an issue with this imagery. So if I click on the box here, I can change it, and I can have a look at Bing imagery instead. Or because it said Maxar, I'm going to try Maxar standard. Okay, yeah. Right, so this is the imagery, and you can see that some of this, the roads have already been added, right? But there are some buildings here. So if you can see here, some buildings have been added, but there are buildings within this that have not been added. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this tool here. So I'm going to zoom in as much as I can before it gets really buzzy. And I'm going to draw around as accurately as possible the building that I want to add. So I'm going to click in each corner, and then I'm going to click back at the final one. Now you can see that this is not square. So if I right click, right, or I can do shortcut Q and square it. Also, what I need to do here is I need to make sure that I put it as a building. So all I'm going to do is draw around the building, add it as a building, and then I'm going to click save. Now, generally, I wouldn't save it after one building, but I'm just demonstrating it now. Right, and then I can upload this. So really, that is the process. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment, and I'm going to pause this.
Just short. So we need to put the local knowledge from the people who are in the ground. So those information that are put by using the local people are very useful, because most people or mappers who map remotely don't have those information. So when you find a building, but in the building there, you can add like information. Maybe this building is a hospital or dispensary or shop or church or mosque. So we really need people from different areas that they can put the local knowledge into those areas, so that can be very, very helpful when people are searching for the safe place and everything. So what I can just tell you for now, you can just go to Play Store and install organic maps into your Android smartphone, and it will just give you some information to do there. Like you have to download the map of Tanzania, and I think maybe at one point or another we'll share the instruction, or if challenge you have there, you can.
I've just done it, Harry. And also,
okay, fantastic.
Thank you. These are the instructions Harry wrote. Also, for people, particularly for field mappers, people in Tanzania, then we also have a WhatsApp group, and I've put the link to that in the chat as well. Most of that training is in Swahili, and so Harry does that. So he has the training very often. So please feel free to join that, or to pass on that link to other people who might be interested in mapping. I think Roby is here now. So Roby, are you okay?
Yes, I'm now available. I'm very sorry I was out of the connection.
Okay.
Hi, yes. Yeah.
So, Roby, I've explained a bit about the mapping process and how to get started with mapping and so on, and talked a bit about the digital champions. But if you could say something about the impact of that, that would be fantastic.
Okay, thank you very much. Really, the impact of mapping is that mapping has helped us as Hope for Girls, first of all, to map all the villages and they provide maps for every village in our districts, which is enabling us even to know what are resources which are available in the villages and which resources and the community services which are not in those villages.
Okay, thank you. And as I said,
but mapping those villages has helped us to identify. Hello?
Hello, no, sorry, I thought you'd finished.
You can't hear me?
I can hear you. Please continue.
Okay. Also, it has helped us to identify the safer places and the risky places regarding on FGM, where we have identified safer places where girls could be protected while waiting for the rescue from the police gender desk and from our office. But through mapping have helped us even protect the girls who are free from FGM, that girls could, it is easily for them to know which area our safe houses are. But also through the police gender desk officers have used the maps to rescue the girls from the villages, identify which route is easily for them to reach in the village, so they do rescue the girls.
Thank you, Roby. So if anyone has any questions for Roby, please do either unmute yourself or ask them in the chat. I'd also like to welcome Valerian. Valerian, are you able to speak?
Yes, yes. Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you this time. Brilliant.
Hello?
Hi, yes, we can hear.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry also I have joined late. Of course, I was now on the journey from Soma to the office.
Now you're muted. Okay.
So I joined late. I'm sorry.
No worries. Can you introduce yourself? Yep.
Yes, thank you. My name is Valerian Mgani. I am working with an organization known as the Association for Termination of Female Genital Mutilation, based in Tarime village. We are working on community awareness on the impact, the bad effects of FGM and the child marriage, but also other forms of gender-based violence. We are working with the government, but also we have children home where girls and women from different places run into our center because of abusive or because of abuse, because of GBV that are happening in their families or in their societies. I'm so happy that today I have joined this meeting. Previously, I did not join because there was technical problems. But also we are working with these digital champions on mapping as well as reporting different cases on the system that is in the ODK. I'm so happy to say that in front of this meeting, say that this program is so productive in our area. As you know, some of the courier people were so aggressive when they were seeing that somebody is sending information somewhere else. So there was a revenge. With that system, people were afraid to report issues of gender-based violence. But because of this system of mapping or reporting in the system through ODK, now those digital champions now are reporting several events, and it is easy now for the police or the social welfare officers or any government leader to receive the information, but also to make follow-up and rescue those girls. We are happy that a number of cases have been reported, and some of them have also been solved. Because of the impact of digital champions, that we have received more than 100 cases from Tarime districts only through the system. But also these digital champions have mapped several places to see what is available in the place, what are the basic needs also available in the place, what are if there is hospitals, police stations, and other things that are available. So currently, when I'm speaking, we have more than 100 girls at our center, and the impact of these digital champions, we have received more than 35 girls who have been reported by digital champions, and these digital champions, some of them helped to rescue also these girls directly, and some of the girls just being referred to the police gender desk and the social welfare department. So this system, though we have not started a very long time, we have just started in June this year, but we see that the impact is good, and we are sure that on the course of time, we will be getting a lot of impacts because of this system of mapping. Thank you, Janet.
Thank you, Valerian. Could you just say something more about the cross-border issue?
Yeah, thank you so much. As you know, Tarime is bordered with Kenya, and this is among the border which is using to pass these girls, we can say, to different, that means in Kenya and in Tanzania. In the sense that when in the side of Kenya, that means Migori count, if the government is strict now forbidding FGM, then those girls are being migrating to Tanzania to be cut, and then after being cut, they are going to their places, that is in Kenya. The same happens in the side of Tanzania. There are some girls who are migrating to the side of Kenya, and they are being cut there, and then after being cut, they are coming back. The same with these traditional leaders as well as the traditional mutilators. You know, these people are so closely, and they are relatives that you may see that an aunt is in the side of Tanzania and the uncle is in the side of Kenya. So the traditional leaders are sharing each and everything. When they settle for their meeting, all of them settle together. That means those in Kenya and those in Tanzania. The same in the side of these traditional mutilators are migrating to Kenya, and from Kenya to Tanzania. So the same effect happens to children. But we have been organizing several meetings, that is cross-border FGM meeting with our partners in the side of Kenya, and several initiatives have now been put. Previously, it was difficult now, for instance, those girls who are now coming to be rescued in our center, that it was difficult to get permission. But currently, because of this cross-border meeting that we have been sitting together, those girls have now been allowed to just come and be rescued in the center of Masanga. And when those girls are here, we just send the information to the migration office at Sirari, and then they prepare a temporary certificate for those girls to be sheltered here at Masanga. The same when we are going for the reintegration, we are just sending the information at migration, and then they allow us to go and conduct the reintegration of those girls in the side of Kenya. So the issue of mapping now we can see we can maybe prolong also in the side of Kenya, in the sense that we can map who are the stakeholders, who are the CSOs working in the along the border of Kenya, so that we can partner together and we can be receiving maybe this information from the side of Kenya and the side of Tanzania for the aim of rescuing these children. Thank you, Janet.
Thank you, Valerian. Could you just say a little bit more about how people cross? Do they cross at official border crossings, or are there many unofficial crossings?
No, most of these people who are violating rights, they are not crossing at the official border. There are so many outlets in Tarime, that means in this border of Tarime and Kenya. So most of these girls, most of these traditional mutilators and these traditional leaders, they are using this unofficial border. The official border is at Sirari, but these people, they are just using other outlets and not in the official border. So sometimes even to the police, it becomes difficult to arrest them because they are not using this any official border.
Okay, thank you. And for those unofficial border posts, have you done any mapping of those?
Yes, there are several unofficial border that they are using that are being used by these perpetrators. For instance, when you start from the down almost at Lake Victoria, where there is Susuni Ward and Mwema Ward, there is an outlet one called as Mabera. Mabera, there is an outlet, and then there is another outlet nearby Sirari, but it is not also official or called Kumwam. But there is other borders here at Borega, where are not official. Then there are other border outlets at Guitirio Ward, but also here at the Burege, there is Itirio, there is Nyasincha, there is also Kegonga. So there are several outlets which are not official, where these perpetrators are using. But also another information is that currently, as you know, in the side of Kenya, the president is strictly forbidding this FGM. And there were some of the chiefs in the side of Kenya who have been now who have lost their job because there were some girls who were mutilated. So currently, most of the people in the side of Kenya, they have planned themselves to migrate with their girls to be cut in the side of Tanzania, because now it seems our laws are not so strict, and even the central government or the high authorities, it seems the issue of FGM is not their priority. So it is still a great risk to the children, those who are in the side of Kenya and those in the side of Tanzania. But the same information we have also shared with the regional commissioner, also with the district commissioner and all of the police. And we have shared also with them these outlets, so that the police officers also, but also using these secret informers, that means these digital champions, they can be in the position to help us when they see that people are preparing themselves to migrate in the side of Tanzania. So we are expecting to receive a lot of information from the digital champions, and we might work well in collaboration with the police so that these girls can be rescued.
Thank you, Valerian. That's extremely useful. And yes, it would be really fantastic to extend the digital champions into Kenya and also into all areas of Mara. So I'd also just like to welcome Ephraim, who is a GIS specialist at USAID. I don't know if you are able to talk at all, Ephraim, if you're able to, if you've done any GIS work in Mara, and particularly around the cross-border aspects. if you're able to speak, that would be great.
Thank you, Janet. And I'm sorry, I joined late. I had another couple meetings, but I'm happy to share with you all guys some few works. I worked with the humanitarians, and I was supporting some NGOs with missions in a part of the Kigoma. So mainly, as you know, there is a lot of movement of refugees that have been mapping their movement, their routes. There's some kind of legal and illegal routes. So I did some kind of work in the eastern part of Tanzania, mainly the border of Burundi and border of Rwanda. So I'm sorry I'm late. I don't know what was happening here, but Janet, you catch me on the loop. So at least that's what I can share. Thank you, Janet, for this time.
Thank you. So perhaps we can talk later about how best to do some cross-border mapping between Kenya and Tanzania, particularly around trying to stop cross-border migration for FGM.
Sure, we can do that.
Thank you. Okay, so basically, just for the people that joined late,